Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's Failrace episode with DeathBiscuit on GTA 5 and an AI not being very smart. I've seen AIs do dopey things plenty of times, in fact, on this game. This might be the worst attempt I've ever seen at getting out of a car park. It's made worse by the fact that it's essentially trying the same loop of driving around in a circle. And it's not really figuring it out. And yes, the player car is a little bit in the way, but I mean, not really. Not really. It's truly awful driving currently going on. The clip actually goes on quite a while just doing the same thing. We're on to Just Cause 3 next with a timed mission. You have to drive this vehicle to the targets, have it explode as quickly as possible, and everything going relatively well. Right up until the point where they have to bail out of the car and manage to do something that's an awful lot more difficult than the actual objective. Yes, they managed to jump out of the car and drive it straight through the gap. I mean, that is genuinely very impressive. Failed the mission completely, but, you know, fair play. Well done on that one. We're sticking with Just Cause and Just Cause 4 with Kobra Kai and a helicopter that's not really, well, it doesn't know how to helicopter. Also, please note the boat that for some reason is stuck on land and shooting at the player. I don't quite know how the boat got there, and it's not the main part of the clip. I just find it funny. We have a helicopter not knowing how to helicopter and a boat that's somehow forgotten how to boat all at once. Yeah. And then, and then there's another explosion as well. And then the helicopter continues. I mean, I'm pretty sure the boat became an aircraft at some point in that as well with that random explosion. The player tries to get knocked by the helicopter, although it's quite difficult to fly into the path of that helicopter when it's doing things. Boat's just shooting away as it does. But, yeah, things have gone weird. It's to be expected. Razor Sharp is up next on Microsoft Flight Sim. Now they have decided to go and visit the Nürburgring. You know, you play Flight Sim, you'll probably go, or certainly if you are a motorsport fan, this is the sort of thing you end up going to do. It turns out, when you are messing around with aircraft on a game, well, it's not really supposed to have, you know, aircraft on the Nürburgring. There might be some funky bits of terrain that don't necessarily act in the way that you would be expecting them to act, and sure enough, the little aircraft goes for a front flip. I mean, I'm not sure quite what else was expected to happen running down here, but it was going okay, and then it all of a sudden wasn't. Although, speaking of that, Calvintola is up next on Battlefield. They are in the middle of a shootout in a relatively, you know, good cover area here, taking out some enemies when they get a surprise from a sudden aircraft as well. This one just falling from the sky, getting stuck in their little area and managing to kill them. Not instantly, mind you. No, it took a little while. Knight's Viper is up next on War Thunder with a tank battle that's gone weird. So the tanks managed to bump into one another. Okay, this, you know, does happen. However, the enemy tank has managed to essentially get stuck on the front of the camera tank here. So the enemy tank is mostly shooting over, I think, whereas the player tank can hit, but is not really... hitting front armor on a tank is very, very, very strong. So a lot of the shots are just deflecting off of the front, which means we have a very silly push of war going on. It's not... I mean, I don't quite know how the tank is able to do this, and this clip goes on for a long time. This push, I've had to cut it down, because the push goes on considerable amount of time across the map, occasionally getting hit, most of the shots just deflecting, as we continue to jostle the enemy, not really able to do very much. And it's like able to move at surprising speed, considering eventually it gets pushed up against a tree, and while being stuck, was able to shoot the underside, and then finally eliminated the tank. But I mean, I've seen a lot of weirdness with tanks. That is right up there at the very top. We're on to Street Legal Racing Redline for our next clip. Now, the player's not involved in this. They are just spectating this race. We saw some AIs get lost in a car park at the start. Well, now we have some AIs getting confused with racing in a mostly straight line, as the two muscle cars have a wobble. The lead car manages to get away with it a little bit better than the vehicle that we were following. That went straight into a tree, which... It's you know, powerful muscle cars and so on can be a bit difficult to drive, but not this difficult. The other AI has, I presume, done a very similar thing to what we just witnessed with going into the solid wall track. It's a terrible race. It's the worst race of all time. They have managed to make going in a straight line look very, very difficult. They did both amazingly make it to the finish line, but yeah. And then they found another tree. We're on to Gran Turismo 7 next with Major Park, who was trying to leave the pit lane and then gets murdered by an AI. Yep, the Viper just was... I mean, okay, admittedly, it might not have, I say, been expecting a car, although it did have a bit... yeah, there's a car coming out of the pit lane and the AI is not going to see that one in time and just wipes out the Porsche. We are on to Assetto Corsa next, racing around the incredibly challenging Bathurst circuit. And when things go wrong here, they do tend to go spectacularly wrong, and sure enough, the BMW turns in a little bit too soon, clips the wall, can't get stopped, and bounces off another wall before sliding along on its roof. I mean, it's a fairly, I'd say it's a fairly realistic crash. In many ways it is up here. Yeah, just turning a fraction too soon on this section, and you are going to be in trouble because you do not have the space, the runoff area, the time to do anything about it. And the BMW is upside down in the fence. I think was it Mostert that had quite a similar crash to that a few years ago, quite possibly. And finally, we have Dragster on BeamNG Drive. And they're playing on a sort of multiplayer server, doing a bit of a police chase. Now, the actual chase itself is what you would kind of expect. They're trying to stop the Bastion. It gets a good pit maneuver, just loses control. It's the wheels. It's the wheels to the best part of it, though. I mean, it was a brutal takedown with the vehicle ending up in the lamppost, but just having the wheels come flying past is absolutely glorious. You couldn't do that one better if you tried. Just proper full-on comedic timing right there. But there we go. That is going to be it for this episode. As ever, if you have clips you'd like to submit to this series, you can via a Google form. There'll be a link to it in the description. All the rules and how it works can be found on there. That, though, is going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.